Boys and girls, welcome back. It is still Thursday. Still March Madness. Cheers. Kids don't drink, stay in school. Listen to your teachers, listen to your parents. No, but in all seriousness, welcome back. Made a video yesterday for today's games and wanted to quickly get back into the picks for Friday, get these guys out to you guys. I'm going to do the same format as we did yesterday. We just want to touch on all 16 games. A lot of these picks I probably won't bet, but I wanted to give insight into what angle I liked best, and I use the term we. Shout out my boy Big Man Krantz. He made a video with me the other day. He was going to be on this one and the one yesterday, but he got sick at the worst time. He's able to lay in bed and watch these games, and we were able to talk today and get some of these picks. So he really helped me out with these ones for tomorrow. So let's dive into those. Really, the thing with these Friday games is it's almost like you have a feel for the tournament now, watching a whole day of it. And just knowing that, like, the type of action that I expected to happen, I wasn't really wildly shocked by anything that happened today. Some winners, some losers that maybe I didn't completely expect, but the play was up to par the way that I thought it would be. The good teams were really good. The questionable teams, they're not playing anymore. And then you got the teams that really made their mark today and kind of said, hey, we might be in for a deeper tournament run than most of us may have thought before, and some of us may have already been on board with it. Quickly, those things going over today. Josh wanted me to let you guys know that Clemson loves to choke. And what he means by that is, and this is a really good point because we were both on Clemson and pretty high on Clemson. Not that McNeese wasn't any good, but if you watch the first half of that game, Clemson got completely dominated, and it wasn't because the other team was better. It was because their game plan stunk. You don't score 13 points in the first half and then score 54 points in the second half on accident. If Clemson came out with that same fight to start the game, they would have been the aggressor, and they are the better team. They would have easily taken McNeese down. So that was Josh's angle, and I completely agree with it. And that's the thing is you don't get to learn from that. Clemson's season is over, and that's just it. You didn't have your A stuff today, and you got exposed. It ended up being a 4-point game at the end of the game. It was really close, closer than the score for some of that last, but thoroughly dominated most of the game by McNeese. They kind of almost let it slip away. And just one more point on them. I know every year we need a Cinderella. I understand how the tournament works. We're going to pump this up this evening on your local sports channels. Tomorrow they'll even get some play. But I'm sick of this equipment manager kid on their team. I heard Kenny Smith say he got an NIL deal and that if things don't work out well, he might enter the transfer portal, which was hilarious to think of. But realistically, I don't care about that guy. And I'm not like the get off my lawn guy. I don't give a you know what about this dude. And they keep showing him. It's like, like how the Taylor Swift phenomenon was, obviously not at the same level. She was already uber famous, but she just got injected into a sporting event that really had nothing to do with her. And it kind of turned a lot of the purist people off. I'm not a basketball purist per se. I mean, I love this sport. And again, this is my favorite time of the year. But just seeing that kid over and over again he's not any reason why this team is good at basketball. And he's getting more shine than he should. And they were showing him after the game, and it was kind of a lot. And I didn't want to, I didn't really want to go into it too much on this, but that was just one of the things that stood out for me today was the presence that this kid had, as far as like getting some sort of recognition for how good McNeese played when I don't agree with that. Two teams that really, really impressed today. Creighton, right off the bat. I knew they had 3 scorers. They have 4. And if they play this way, they could beat Auburn, and I wouldn't be completely surprised by that. That's going to be something to watch. The early line on that is plus 9.5, which I think is too many points, and I might just bet Creighton tonight, depending on how many of these I have. But realistically, they played just a complete ball game. They were dominating Louisville the entire game. And I think that if they bring that same sort of energy and scoring to Auburn, Auburn's going to get all they can handle in that game. The other team, Gonzaga. Gonzaga shouldn't surprise anyone at this point. And Georgia, I was telling you guys on a video that I made, there was nothing about Georgia that said they were going to really give Gonzaga a problem, but Gonzaga just was crisp the whole game. And again, you got them playing a Houston team, complete style contrast. I think Houston is the best team in the country. They gave up 40 points today in a tournament game. I know that Edwardsville is nothing to write home about, but they scored 40 points in a basketball game. It's like a high school team. Gonzaga is going to be a different animal, but the way that Houston plays and the way that Gonzaga plays, I think Gonzaga coming out and showing like, hey, we're here. We're not going to stumble out of the block in this game and win by 5 or 6. It won by 20. It was never close. And they offensively did exactly what they wanted to do, and I was just really impressed by that. So both Creighton and Gonzaga, shout out to them. If there are bracket redos at this point, I may have both of those teams winning this next game as 8 and 9 seeds, playing these powerful 1 teams, at least one of them giving, a game, and we may get a game with Gonzaga. I believe that line is 5 points right now, and the over-under is 140, which kind of suggests Houston should still control the game. Gonzaga should never be playing games where their final score is in the 60s. But we'll see how that goes. That's for another video. And shout out to Houston. Again, I mentioned their defense is completely legitimate. I know it wasn't a top-tier team, but just 40 points is insane. And shout out to the Drake Bulldogs. Drake! If you followed along to anything that this channel has done since we've been out, heavy into Drake. We pick them all the time. Both Josh and I thought that they could win. Both Josh and I have filled them out in our brackets. I bet them today. One of the picks I gave out yesterday was Drake plus 3.5 in the first half. They won that easily. They just dominated a Missouri team that has scored a ton of points in the SEC this year, and they just made them look very pedestrian. So shout out. I mean, holding them under 60 points is crazy. Drake is legitimate. And if you don't know who Stilts is, get in front of your TV on Saturday and watch them play basketball. They're legit. So those are the points we wanted to add. Let's jump into these games for tomorrow because we got a lot to go through, and I want to get through them quicker than I did before yesterday now that we've got a grip on how this is going to work. Again, these are just leans. These aren't going to be any final plays. These are more like, hey, I'm going to quickly look at this game. I know these teams. I really want to say, hey, at this point, like this is what we like, this is what we don't like, and kind of just go from there. So first game is going to be, I like Baylor plus 1.5. Josh likes Mississippi State plus 1.5. Josh is an SEC guy. I understand why he's there. Just my school of thought, real quick explanation, is the same thing I talked about with Baylor before. The transfer portal, getting Roach, having a good freshman class, and then getting Omier from Miami really should have set them up to be more like a 4 or a 5 seed. They have the talent level to be that type of team. They just didn't play like it, but I think that Scott Drew gets this team ready for a tournament game. Baylor's had much success over these tournaments in the last decade, and I think obviously a short number, it's like a pick 'em at this point, and I do think Mississippi State is legitimate, and they've shown flashes, but I think it's just like a lot of the SEC teams, they're just a better home team, and when you just have to play a tournament game on a neutral court, I tend to err on the side of the skill level of the team, and I just think Baylor has a better team. So I'm going to roll with that. Josh likes Mississippi State. Again, this is a coin toss, and this is just quickly looking at this game and saying, hey, if I was going to bet this, what do you think? And without getting too long-winded into why, Those are my key points with Baylor. So that's what I'm gonna to list there. I'm actually probably gonna get to putting that on a ticket. I do really like Baylor there. Um, Again, short number, but just the way I'm feeling about that team and what I know about the coaching, I think that edge plays a big deal in March. They do have a veteran point guard who can settle you down in a tense game, and I do think this will be a close game, and we'll see what happens with that. Um, and yeah, that's what we got. Next game, not too much to get into here. Um, my wife is a gigantic Alabama fan. Um, if she could hear me right now, she'd probably say "Roll Damn Tide," and that goes without saying. I think Alabama is just, I mean, they're wildly, wildly superior. Um, it's kind of this number is a little bit weird to me because I think that they should win by 40 points, but I don't know if they will. And that's the thing is like, if we're just giving out a pick here based on what I think is going to happen, Bob Morris has a good squad. They could score some points. I looked at Alabama's team total. It's 91 and a half. I don't mind taking that over either because what I've seen and what I did learn today in these tournament games is there's going to be some scoring in these games. The defensive teams are going to play defense. The offensive teams, if your offense is better than the other team's defense, you're going to dominate the game. And that's just plain and simple. It's, again, the Drake thing. Drake's defense is better than Missouri's offense, and Drake won the game and played their style. So I liken that to be a possibility in the Alabama game. I just think Alabama's offense is way, way, way too much for anything Robert Morris tries to slow down. And obviously, if you get in a track meet with Alabama, you're going to get blown out. 22 points is a lot to lay for a team that I think is the worst number 2 seed in the tournament. However, I think they get the job done. It might be close. We watch for the backdoor covers all the time on these big numbers. Wisconsin today, I took Montana plus 17 on the video yesterday just as a pick. I didn't actually bet it, and it was right there. I mean, it was that last 30 seconds. I'm watching to see if Montana's going to just hit a 3 and cover that number or not. So it was close. But I'm going to roll with Bama. Next game, this is another one. Iowa State's injuries are why I'm here. And you may be thinking, well, what does that have to do with a team going under? Iowa State, I've mentioned this before. Iowa State plays like Houston, plays like Texas Tech. Those teams are very, very similar to me, and no surprise that they play in the same conference. They can beat you with offense. They can beat you with defense. It's what makes them the most dangerous teams in these tournaments to me is that they can kind of fit into whatever they need to fit in as a team and play that style of basketball and win a basketball game against their opponent. In the first round, they don't need to adjust to anybody. And I think in this case, with the injuries that Iowa State has, it behooves them to kind of just play a slower pace, grind out a game with defense. And Lipscomb, who I have bet a few times this year to score overs in their games, and they have hit. I just think that's too many points for them because I just don't see Iowa State needing the line is 14 and a half. And for a 3 versus 14, that's kind of a weird number. I think Iowa State is 20 to 25 points better than this team. So you're probably thinking, well, why don't you just take 14 and a half? Well, with the injuries, I just don't know what team I'm going to get from Iowa State. And what I would bank on is if Lipsy really is hurt and he said he's going to try to give it a go, he's their floor general. He settles them down. If they get into a game where he can't really play as much, I really like them to grind out their possessions. And I just think if they're not scoring a lot, either is Lipscomb because that means they're going to play defense. So I think we get a defensive Iowa State game tomorrow. I think Lipscomb gets into the high 50s, maybe. This number might be close. It's not something I'm rushing to bet, but when I look at it a little bit more tonight, it may be something. Again, follow us on Twitter, and I can let you guys know if we're going to drop a pick on that or not. Next game. This is a 12-5 that I love. This is a 12-5 that Josh loves. We really didn't even have to ask each other about this pick because we've been on this team for 2 weeks now. waiting for this tournament. Once we knew that they could get in, Colorado State is playing Memphis, and it's as simple as Memphis is probably 4 or 5 points better than this team, and you're wondering why is the number 12 seed favored by 2 points. Vegas knows. Memphis has an injury. It's their second best player. Now their third best player has become their second best player, Danger, and you'll see him play tomorrow. If you watch, this big man has got all sorts of fun in his game. He can run the floor. He is just exciting to watch. Memphis can really score the ball, but you know what? Colorado State can too. And I just think at the end of the day, Colorado State is one of the hottest teams in college basketball. Even with a full Memphis team, I don't know that. I mean, let's say Memphis was -4, -5, I'd be taking Colorado State, even with a full roster for Memphis. I think Colorado State is good enough to keep the game within a possession with a full Memphis roster. So you take out some of Memphis's scoring, and I don't see how I don't get to Colorado State. This is 99%. This is going to be a bet that I'm actually going to make tomorrow. I know Josh is on it as well, so not spending too much time on that other than an injury is really causing this, similar to the BYU VCU game where it was all about location today, where that game was being played. VCU is better than BYU. BYU gets the job done, covers the 2.5 point spread like we said that they would, because the game's being played in altitude in Denver. This game is being played without a key player. So you got to roll with what you have in front of you, and Colorado State is playing better basketball and has the advantage roster-wise right now with this injury. So we're going to roll with them. Next game, so many people have Duke to win the championship. If you don't have Florida or Duke, you're like in the 10% of people that exist that don't, and I know there's some other ones, so don't come yelling at me about, oh, I didn't take either one of those teams. That's fine. If you don't have Colorado, if you don't have Duke or Florida, so Duke here is going to open the tournament. Does Cooper Flagg need to play in this game? No. But I was completely wrong about Mount St. Mary's the other day. I thought they were the worst team in the tournament. They play their playing game. I know that American is not anything special, but Mount St. Mary's goes out and drops 83 points on them. Mount St. Mary's doesn't score 80 points in any games. That's not how they play. But they were unconscious, and I don't know that that carries over. But again, this is in the Alabama State eye that I used today. They want to play in game. They're playing with house money. No one expects anything from you. You come out. I took Alabama State's team total over. They went over against a team that's rightfully 30 points better than them, but they just continued to grind out and get points. And I think this happens here. Duke is favored by 32.5. That number is far too large for me to lay in a tournament game, although we've seen already a Houston team do that to a team that is probably just as good as St. Mary's. But Duke, if Duke's at full strength, I think Duke scores 100 points on Mount St. Mary's. So you give me 100 to 41 and we're covering this spread. If Duke is in the 90s, you're talking about a team getting into the 50s. This is all, I just think this number is too low. I think this number is 7 or 8 points too low, regardless if Flagg plays or not. This might tell me that Flagg might not play. I don't believe anything I read until this kid actually comes on the court and shows up or not. So if people are going to say, well, they said he's going to play, or said he's not going to play, I don't believe any of that until it's actual game time. So for right now, this number is just too low. So I'm probably going to actually bet this one as well. I thought long and hard about this, and then I love this pick. So Duke and Mount St. Mary's over 140 points. Next game, this is a game that I flip-flopped on. Josh liked the under in this game. It's 135 points. I'm on the side, and I'll tell you why. When I ran down this bracket originally, I said that I didn't like Vanderbilt when they don't play at home. And that rings true for me. St. Mary's is a better team. They've got more tournament experience, albeit they have lost in the tournament last year in the first round. Um, they had higher hopes than this team did, but this team beat Gonzaga twice. They have a good non-conference schedule. They play tenacious defense. That's why the total is 135, which, he's still like the under on that, Josh. He still thinks St. Mary's is going to choke them down a lot. And I think the same. I don't think Vandy even gets to 70 points. I think they're more on like the 62, 63 range, which would mean St. Mary's would need to get probably hit the over to hit this number. But I just think St. Mary's is the better team. And that's a short number for me is 4. College basketball, give you the equivalent. College basketball is somewhere between 5 and 7 points so we'll say 6 for argument's sake, is kind of like a field goal or a -4 in football. It's kind of like the home field advantage number, or this is when you think two teams are kind of evenly matched. Like this is a 1-score game in basketball because of free throws in college basketball. 6 points is not a huge cover. And you're going to give me less than that with St. Mary's, who I just think is a better team. I've got St. Mary's actually taking Alabama out in the following round. This wouldn't blow up my bracket or anything like that, but I've got St. Mary's making some noise in this tournament. I think it starts here. I just think they're a better team than Vandy. I hate trying to knock these SEC teams out, but I do think the conference was a little bit overblown from top to bottom. It's very top heavy, in my opinion. Tennessee, Auburn, Florida, legit. Okay. Texas A&M, we saw them tonight. Yale gave them a little bit of a run. The Vandy, Kentucky, I think is fake a little bit. I'm not sold on the conference, and I think with a more polished team that's just ready for the tournament, I think I like St. Mary's to win this game. Next pick. This is going to be unpopular. Everyone saw what this team did in the play-in game to San Diego State. So, everybody and their mother is on North Carolina. And we're not. I was on San Diego State, so I feel like this team's going to screw me over again, and it's like I can't ever bet against Carolina ever again. I'm an ACC guy. I saw too many times this season where this team did not show up. I feel like San Diego State, they just got too far behind too quickly and started to try to catch up to this team. And I think Ole Miss can play a style of basketball where they can try and keep up with North Carolina. They're not the same offense. Don't get me wrong. But I think that they can play enough of a close game to stay with them. And I think they win this game. Obviously, if I'm taking you at +2, I don't think you're going to lose by 1. I think you're going to win the game. And I think the wrong team is favored here. I think it's recency bias. I think that Vegas is all over that. They know, we just watched Carolina thrash, and it's all anyone talked about after that game. You get that game on the first night. So now it's been 2 days when this game is played that people have been gawking about Carolina. See, they deserve to get in. They beat San Diego State, who is the 4th best team in the Mountain West. A great conference, Colorado State, New Mexico, who we'll touch on later. They're good, but they're not as good as Ole Miss. I would take Ole Miss to beat San Diego State on most days. And in this game, Ole Miss is a 6th seed. And I just got finished talking about the SEC and these mediocre middle teams. Arkansas found a way to get the job done against Kansas team today. I just don't think Vandy's as good as either one of those teams. There's a reason why Vandy is a 10 seed, just like Arkansas. And Ole Miss is sitting at a 6 seed. Ole Miss is a better team, and they're a better team than North Carolina. They've been a better team all year, and I'm going to roll with the better team. That's really how that's going to work. Josh is on that one too, so let's go there. Next game, I think this is a sneaky good team, Maryland. Sneaky good team, but Grand Canyon can score, and Maryland can score. They're calling them the Crab Five instead of the Fab Five because they have the best starting five on paper in the country. Everyone averages double digits. I love that name. I think it's awesome. I think Maryland wins this game by 8 to 10 points, which is about where the spread is at. But I think Grand Canyon gets to 70, and I think Maryland ends up somewhere 80 or into the 80s. Grand Canyon 70 points against a Maryland team who likes to score but can give up some points. And I think Grand Canyon is going to surprise some people with their outside shooting. I think they're going to be able to get some points. I don't love this bet. It's probably in the middle of the pack, 8 to 10 as far as my favorite bet on these 16 bets here. But I'm going to give it a stronger look as the morning rolls on. This is like a 4:30 game, and it's one of those that it's just kind of like if I can throw it into a parlay, something like that, where I don't have to stand on its own head and just make sure that it happens. I also want to see how the public reacts to it in the morning. A lot of people don't bet these lines now. They're going to wake up tomorrow, look at their accounts, say, damn, this sucks, and throw some more money on some games. And that's where maybe we can get some value there. But Grand Canyon to score 70 points, I think, is just too low for me against most teams in this field, especially a Maryland team that doesn't play a tremendous amount of defense. The prohibitive favorite in this tournament right now, Florida, takes on Norfolk State. Why is Norfolk State going to score 64 points? Norfolk State played a really good out-of-conference schedule this year. I'm not going to pretend they're even going to be within. I think Florida's absolutely blows them out of the building. I thought about taking the over in the game because I think Florida's team total is like 92 or 93, and I could see them honestly getting into closer to 110. I don't pretend to know the most about Norfolk State outside of I know that I've looked at their schedule a few times. I've checked into their, I've done the appropriate amount of research to know the style of basketball this team plays, and I just know playing catch up is just opening up to backdoor points like this, where you can get 63, 64, 65 points. I could see them getting closer to 70 and Florida being over 95 to 100 and something, and just clearly winning this game by 25 plus, but Norfolk getting over this number. And I think that's more indicative of what will happen. I don't think Florida's going to take their foot off the gas until the final, maybe 8-minute mark, but they don't pretend to be a defensive team either. So I think Norfolk's got plenty in the tank to be able to get to this number. So I like that one. That's, again, a middle of the pack bet for me. A pick I love, we will move on to. Kentucky. Kentucky to score is a green light for me. Troy is not going to put up enough of a defensive fight. I think Troy is going to score too. The over-under in this game should be in play. I think it's around 150 or 153, something like that. I think that should be in play too if you want to really just max out a bet. Kentucky, I think, is a favorite by 11. So Troy's team total should be somewhere around 70, which I think is also kind of hittable. Maybe it's 14 in this game. I can't remember what the spread is. There's too many damn spreads. But Kentucky just scores, and that's all they do well. And I think that they have no shortage of points tomorrow. I think they can get to 90 also. So light and simple Kentucky. I'm betting this. So we're going to get into some bets here towards the end of this thing that I'm definitely putting down. As the night goes on here, there's just better games to bet on. Some of these spreads are wild. Next game, this is one here. I just talked about this team from the Mountain West, and I think they're going to win outright. But give me the 4 points. I'll take the 4 points. I like New Mexico. I like New Mexico for a lot of different reasons. I think they're one of the better teams in the tournament. All year they've been good. They beat Houston. No, San Diego State beat Houston, and they beat San Diego State twice. That's what it is. So it's more like it's a fade of Marquette for me. And it's not that I don't think Marquette is good. I don't think Marquette deserved a 7 seed. I would have liked to see Marquette more in that play-in game where Xavier was at, and Xavier in their spot. I just think Xavier was playing better basketball than Marquette. But I understand conference standings and all that kind of stuff and how the conference tournaments go. But New Mexico for me is kind of like a dark horse team. I think they could make some noise. I think that they're a team that can get to the Sweet 16 or maybe even the Elite 8. They always have really good guard play, well-coached team, veteran leadership. I like New Mexico. Cam Jones can go off against anybody, and Marquette can win any game because you got a kid that can score like that. But Dent on the other side, he's going to do the same thing. You got two guys averaging 20 points a game. That's what the game is about, man. You got two elite scorers, two elite bucket getters going against each other, and you're going to give me points. 4 points. I think 4 points is too many. I think if New Mexico loses, maybe they lose by a bucket. This number could be, with free throws, could be in jeopardy, as I was saying before, that 6-point number. But I just think New Mexico is the better team, and I think they find a way to pull it out. So I'm going to go with them. The next one we're going to go with is, and we're getting here down to the end, this game, initially when this came out, I was all over the over, and it's just steamed up, and now it's too high. I've been on Akron over all year with Josh. Every time they play, they're like our Denver Nuggets team total over. It's just a bet that you make all the time, and you live with them losing a few of them because more often than not, they go over. And Arizona wants to play that style. Arizona wants to score 90, but I think they got the total at 90-77. And I just don't think Akron pulls their weight because I don't think Arizona is going to find any struggle scoring. But I also think that Arizona is just so much better than Akron as a team. Akron, just the competition that they've faced this year, is nowhere near on par with Arizona. And I think this is the point where this number has just gotten ridiculous. 160 should be like the number of this game. You're going to give me 7 or 8 extra points. I don't care how well these teams are playing. I just think that's way too many points. Watch this game be 98-85, and this goes way over the total, and that's fine, but I'll live with that. I'm going to actually make this bet as well as the New Mexico bet, as well as the Kentucky team total bet. So the last 3 we've gone over are going to be bets that I personally make tomorrow. Whether that give them out in the morning as actual picks, I got to do a little bit more thinking, and we're trying to be more precise. We went 4-2 today on our picks. I know for a fact that we hit the BYU -2.5. I know that we hit the team total over for Yale. I know that we lost that Clemson game. We had Clemson winning that game -7. I know we hit Creighton's team total over early. Had that one at 71.5. That was a joke. They blew past that. Arkansas +5, outright winner. You got the BYU -2.5. The High Point +4.5 in the first half. They were right there, and just at the end of the first half, they let it slide away to 10. And then you got the Clemson loss. So Clemson and High Point were our 2 losses. Went 4-2 today, and so we were a little selective. Obviously, we gave out 16 picks on the video yesterday, and ended up posting 6 of them. And I'm kind of going to be, maybe I get to 7 tomorrow. We'll see how I'm feeling with some of these the more I look at them. But for right now, this is where we're at. So we're going to take the under in this game. It's on the screen. Next game, I really, really like this game. I think this number is ridiculous. Oklahoma +5.5. Oklahoma, another team I think that wins the game outright. SEC schedule, very tough. Their out-of-conference schedule was ridiculous, and they were 13-0 coming into SEC play. And Josh and I talked about this before. Them just getting into SEC play and not experiencing this SEC conference before is what I really think kind of messed up their season. I think that they are a legitimate team. Fears is a legitimate scorer. And I think they just have way too much for a Connecticut team that doesn't have an identity at all. They don't know who they want to be their leader. They don't have a real guy that can just go get them a basket when they need to get a basket. They can't rely on any single one guy, and they have the coaching edge. They have the pedigree edge. They're the reigning national champions, so everything points in their direction, and that's why the public is on them. And this number probably started, I think, at 2.5, has gone up to 5.5. That's just way too high. And I get if you go back and look at Oklahoma and you say they're 20-13. Go do your research and look at their entire season, their makeup of their team. They've gone like this, and that's why, you got them as a 9 seed, but better team. I like all the 9 seeds so far. Today we were on Creighton. Creighton won. or on Gonzaga. They didn't get it done. I mean, they won. They were an 8 seed. That's the only one. We got Oklahoma as a 9 seed, and we got Baylor as a 9 seed. So I like the 9 seeds this year. It's the most evenly matched game, isn't it? 8 and 9. But Oklahoma, too many points for me here. I think they win outright, but maybe they lose by a basket and cover anyway. Going back to Xavier, we were talking about, impressive win for them, coming back and beating Texas. That game was over. They showed some gusto, but I think they blew their proverbial load on that game. I'm more way more into Illinois than a lot of people are. I have Illinois in my Sweet 16, and some brackets I have them in the Elite Eight. Their roster is just as talented as anybody else in the country. And I just think they've hit pockets where they didn't really show it. And I think this is a chance against a team that's going to allow them to play that up-tempo game that Texas played, except this is a way better version of that. This team can score 100 points, and you don't want to get into a shooting contest with them, and you're going to just tell me that they need to win by 3. The number's too short. Number should be like 5 or 6. Not really much else for me to say about that. Josh likes Xavier. He was impressed with them. Josh is a Big East guy. He's a Florida fan, but he's a Big East basketball guy, and he was really into this team. He thought that he liked them, getting out of that game against Texas and getting this job done before the tournament. He's been on that for at least a week, as far as I know, and he's not wavering off of that, especially with what he saw from Xavier and their resiliency. He really liked them, and I don't blame him. So maybe this is a coin toss game, but I think I actually get to put Illinois on a ticket tomorrow and bet them. I just really like the pick. Last two, let's get these out of here and get this video out to you guys. Complete mismatch. I think they have a bad taste in their mouth from the way that conference tournament went. I think that they feel like they are a national championship team. They have a national championship coach. This should be 24, 25. This should be where Alabama is, 22, and just a scoring contest against another team. Michigan State is just going to suffocate this Bryant team. I guess I should have put them in that group with Texas Tech and Iowa State and Houston. This team can play defense when they want to play defense, and at that point, they're going to hold you into the high 50s, low 60s, and they can turn around and score 75, 80 points, and that's just kind of where they score at. So this number is right on line with like a regular season game that I would expect between these two teams. I might even expect, if it was at Michigan State, I would expect it to be over 20. So I get with it not, but 10 o'clock game. They've done nothing but think about how they want to project this path in the tournament, and I think they're ready. I'm all about this Michigan State bet here. This minus 17. This might be my favorite bet on the entire board, at least for this round. I just think this is a classic mismatch with too low a point total here. So I like Michigan State minus 17. Watch Bryant come out and win. And I just look like an ass hat, but hey, it's one game. That's why you don't make these giant parlays with 3 or 4 of these at a time, and one leg screws it for you, man. Make single bets. Get out there, make some single bets. Last one, and we will get out of your hair. And now I can put my ticker on for you guys. We'll scroll this one at the bottom. Just got a little recap flowing on the bottom for you guys, but we're on Oregon. Liberty is a really good defensive team. I think I mentioned this before. They are really good at ball denial. What ball denial means is essentially they don't let you catch the ball where you want to catch it at. It's not that you can't and they don't allow passing, but they really stretch the team outside of the three-point line. And against Oregon, that's a good strategy because Shellstad has not been, which is their scoring guard. He has not been himself over the last few games, and that's where I think this time bomb is at. Liberty, I don't think Liberty is going to win this game. I don't think Liberty is going to dictate this game at all. I think Liberty is going to find themselves in the second half of a game, much like they did in their conference game against Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State was scoring all over them. and Kennesaw State and Oregon are in two different stratospheres as far as that goes. And what I'm getting at is just offensively, Oregon should be able to do whatever they want in the game. Maybe not the whole game. There will be spots where Liberty will be able to put their imprint on the game. They are a really good team. Liberty could win this game, but if Liberty is going to win this game, this is going to be nowhere near this total, and I just don't see Oregon allowing that to happen. I think Oregon is on the upswing right now. They were a team I was very unsure of back in February, but here we are in March, and I'm very sure that this team is they have legitimate players and just a much better team than Liberty overall. I think Liberty's too small. I think Oregon finds a way to get mostly whatever they want. Wouldn't be surprised if they got to 40 points at the half, and this just became an easy second half where they end up, on like a 79, 81 point night, and they coast over this number. So we like Oregon. I wouldn't be mad if you wanted to take Oregon with the points also. Let me just get you a live number on that real quick, because while I'm thinking about it, I don't hate that bet either, but I do think Liberty is a very viable team, very viable opponent. It's at 7. It's just past that key number of 6 that I was talking about, so I'm not 100% sure on that. But with the total at 139, I think Oregon at 72.5 is just too low for me. Thinking Liberty is going to score 66, and that's kind of what I do. I do agree with that. I just think Oregon gets closer to 80 and wins this game. So that's going to be it for the video. This is 2 days in a row of just giving you breakdown of the entire round, what we got here. I'm going to try to do the same thing for the Saturday games. Obviously, we're going to play 8 games each day now, Saturday and Sunday. Then we'll come back next Thursday and we'll play 4 games and 4 games. And then we'll play 2 games and 2 games. And then we'll wait another week and we'll get 2 games and we'll get 1 game. So the tournament's really going to thin out after tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last all day of basketball day, at least staggering games on top of games, because on Saturday, obviously with 8 games, they usually will run 2 congruent to each other within 30 minutes of each other, and then try to give us a little bit of a gap around dinner time. So be careful with your wagers. Don't blow it all. I made some money today. If you followed along with me, you made some money too. And tomorrow, hopefully we do the same thing. And as I always say, let's go green. Shout out my man Krantz, big man Krantz. Josh, get better. Hopefully you can hop on a video with me tomorrow and we can talk about who's going to make it to the Sweet 16. That'll be a fun video to make and get out to you guys. And yeah, let's go make some money, boys. Cheers.